of our conversation and it just totally dumped out. So hopefully this will take us all the way home. So wanted to ask you, do you feel low motivation, difficulty in concentrating, depressed mood, maybe hard to set goals and stick to the path that gets you to your goal? Are you experiencing poor sleep, hard to focus, memory? Like, why did I come in this room again? Does any of this sound like you? So let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is widespread in the animal kingdom, but our high levels may be a part of what makes us unique as a human. And so let's just kind of go over how dopamine impacts our life on a daily basis. First of all, it's our motivation molecule. It boosts our drive, our focus, and our concentration. It enables you to plan ahead and resist distractions and the impulses to, just go off path so that you can actually achieve your goals. It gives you that I did it, that feeling of accomplishment feeling when you set out to do something and you end up doing it, right? It gets you some healthy, I say, competitive juices flowing, and that provides that thrill of accomplishment in all aspects of life, whether it's business, sports, love, all aspects of life, right? Like that, it's a feel good feeling. And it's also in charge of our pleasure and reward system. So it allows us to feel enjoyment, bliss, and even euphoria. Too little dopamine can leave us feeling unfocused, unmotivated, lethargic, and even depressed, right? So, do you want to know how to get more dopamine? Much for joining. It's really good to be with you. Grab a cup of tea if you like, and we'll be together for, I don't know, 20-ish minutes. I invite you to join the conversation. That makes it kind of feel like we're in the same room, if you will, because this is a virtual space. I'm going to ask a couple of things of you. If you have a question, put it in the comments with a Q before your question. That way I can, when I go back and look at the comments and answer, I can catch the question. Also, because this is virtual, if you want to give a lot of like emojis and likes and that sort of thing, that makes me feel like we're connected. Just any reactions that you want to throw out is good. And thank you for being generous that way. It also helps us to engage a better community. So I also have these 9 ways, because there's kind of a lot of detail in terms of lists of foods and that kind of thing. On a list, we call them the show notes. So if you would like those, just go ahead and comment. The code word is happy in the comments below, and we'll message you and get that to you. So I am Laurie Morse, a 30-year practitioner of Chinese medicine, director of Sacred Health. And yes, that is a thing. So she can live with more energy, ease in her body, peace, and purpose. So, if one is low in dopamine, if you happen to be low in dopamine, you might notice little enthusiasm for life. And interestingly, in Chinese medicine, the water element, which is it's comprised of the kidneys, the adrenals, and the bladder. The adrenals is our stress response gland, if you don't know that. And this is our battery pack, so to speak. So when this system gets overworked and overstressed, it weakens. It's already in a natural decline as we're gathering our years. It's full, it's a full tank when we're born, and then we just use that energy throughout our life. That's our life force, the tank that holds our life force, or chi. And so what we're trying to do is avoid over siphoning, over stressing that system so that we have, enough energy to give us a good life throughout the numbers of years that we'll be on the planet. So how to know if you're low in dopamine? I've already said you'll have low energy, low motivation, and you might feel like you need to rely on sugar or caffeine or other stimulants to get you through the day. But these are the specific symptoms of deficiency of dopamine. So apathy, engaging in self-destructive behaviors, especially addictions. And when we say the word addiction, it isn't just like, heroin and cocaine or alcohol. Those are the more common. Addictions to food, addictions to social media, addictions to, those kinds of addictions that are sort of get away with a bull, if you will, if that's a word. But important for us to notice as individuals if we need to tweak something there, right? So another deficiency symptom of dopamine is having fatigue or a sense of hopelessness, inability to accomplish or complete your tasks, inability to concentrate, inability to connect with others, inability to feel pleasure, lack of motivation, low libido, memory loss, mood swings, procrastination, and sleep problems. So if you have any of those, you probably could use some of the goodness coming up. So let's talk about those 9 um, specific things that will boost dopamine. Number one there are specific foods that boost dopamine, and it actually isn't directly dopamine. It's amino acid L-tyrosine that then is a precursor to dopamine. So there are foods that are rich in L-tyrosine, and they're generally protein-rich foods. So foods like animal products, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, dairy, that kind of thing. Apples and avocados, bananas, and remember, I have all this written down on a list. So if you don't want to have to take feverishly fast notes, just comment happy in the comments, and I'll get you the list. Bananas, beans, like legumes, especially fava beans in particular, those have been researched to boost dopamine through that L-tyrosine precursor. Beets, chocolate, that's a good one. Chocolate, green leafy vegetables, nuts, oats, olive oil, oregano, peanuts, rosemary, sea vegetables, sesame and pumpkin seeds, turmeric, watermelon, and wheat. So again, I have that list all typed up for you. But just to give you an idea that there are plenty of foods that hopefully you would be willing to eat that will help to boost your dopamine. The other foods that are really good for dopamine are those foods that are natural probiotics, right? Such as yogurt, kefir, raw sauerkraut. Those can increase your dopamine levels and dopamine production. Dopamine is similar to serotonin in that more than 50% of these neurotransmitters are actually in the gut, more so than in the brain. When we talk about neurotransmitters, we always just sort of assume it's a brain thing, and it is, but there's a lot that happens in the gut that we forget about. So there's just a lot of dopamine that can be found in the intestines, and why probiotics or making sure that you tend to a healthy microbiome is important is because this is where these neurotransmitters originate, right? And they're synthesized, I should say, rather than originate, by the microbiome in our intestines. So a healthy microbiome means healthy neurotransmitters. For both neurotransmitters, but also for hormones and our immune. In your life maybe is another thing, right? The second thing on the list of 9 is to avoid foods that decrease dopamine. So those are foods like sugar, too much saturated fat, aspartame, and overeating, it's interesting, decreases the number of dopa receptors, which is the amount that then becomes the amount of dopamine that's available. So when we eat more than we need in any given sitting, then we're lowering our dopamine availability, right? I know that's one of my things that I'm constantly working on is stopping, when I've had enough, right? Like the body just can't, especially as we gather our years, it's like really hard for our body to, to get away with that kind of thing. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I specific supplements, and of course you want to take this with the advice of your medical provider. Taking that, but I just want to let you know that there are specific supplements that you can take. Turmeric or curcumin, omega-3, the essential fatty acids that you'll find in fish, but you can also take them in a supplement. Complete B complex is really good for dopamine, and vitamin, D3. So those are things that we're all probably taking anyway, but it's just good to know that's supportive of our dopamine. So number 4 is physical movement is really important because it increases blood flow to the brain, and that carries with it all the nourishment, nutrition, and the dopamine with it. So number 5, meditation and creativity. On how meditation and creativity builds a healthy, more resilient brain, which includes balancing brain chemicals, including dopamine, building stronger neural connections. So there's all these pathways in our brain, and they communicate with each other. So that's what a neural connection is. It's like a brain pathway that's connected and sharing communication and messaging back and forth. It also calms brain inflammation. That's really important, right? You probably already know that. This meditation and creativity enhances brain plasticity. So you might have heard this word plasticity. And why that's important is because if we have bad habits, we need to rewire those bad habits to better habits. And there's ways to do that. And it requires this plasticity in our brain in order to do that. I mean, I have a whole mind medicine vault in the Sacred Health Academy. I've probably heard me mention this before. That is designed specifically to rewire our brain toward healthier habits, toward just to code into our cells and awaken from our cells the health that already lives there, right? So also meditation and in creativity increases blood flow to the brain, just like movement does, reduces stress hormones, wildly important because when we have stress hormones released into our body, those chemicals are corrosive and it just kind of tears our system down over time, right? Brain scans show that the brain's pleasure center lights up when we listen to music. So this is another one. Music, and good music, right? Like music that's soothing to you, not like acid rock or anything. And so whether we're listening, creating, or playing music, it releases dopamine in our brain. I'll just have on in the background. There's a guy, I think it's called the Jason Stevenson channel on YouTube, and it's this very specifically tuned frequency music with no words. It's just instrumental, and I play it in the background on low. Just to help your dopamine along. So let's see, what number is this? Yeah, that was number 6. Oh, number 6, I didn't say 6. So 6 is listening to music, which causes the release of dopamine. Number 7 is touch and social connection. So whether that be a massage or hugging, I know that's one of the things I think I miss the most in the pandemic is just the freedom of hugging, right? I'm a hugger and it's really hard to hold back on that. Petting your pet is touch, which will be a release of dopamine, and even self-hugging, like just, I know that might seem weird, but just, giving yourself and taking a split second to just kind of feel that you're hugging yourself. Also, research shows that like just soothing touch is really, really healthy. So you could just do this while you're at your desk or sitting in a meeting or something like that. Just kind of, do a nice soothing touch to the back of your hand with your other hand. That will release a little bit of dopamine. Number 8, and this is, I can't do this one, but maybe you can, which is take a cold shower. And if you're not up for that, you can at least end your shower with a cold blast. People who take cold showers swear that it boosts their mood, their productivity. Anyway, that's number 8. Number 9 is harnessing your brain's reward system. So dopamine functions as a survival mechanism by releasing energy when we do something, like when a good opportunity presents itself to us and we feel motivated. So dopamine. See if I can say that in a little bit better way. This is just a built-in mechanism in our system by nature, where we'll get rewarded when we say yes to good opportunities for us, and then when we get our needs met by following through with something, right? I mean, we know the feeling of a dopamine surge, for example, and how it makes us feel when we cross off something from our to-do list, right? Like that just feels so rewarding. And that's the feeling I'm trying to convey here. Hopefully it's making sense. And do you remember in the last show, if you happen to see it, we talked about the 5 steps to peace up. And when there was a bonus step, which was number 6, where we talked about giving ourselves praise, just like, simple, like, oh, good job, or, oh, that's awesome, you're one step closer to or great choice to, do your workout this morning. Like those little things matter. They really, really matter. So I'm really inviting you to be generous with yourself on that because it gives you a dopamine boost. And so not only is it just a kind thing to do for ourselves, but it changes our brain chemistry. Even do a little victory dance, if you're on your own and you don't feel does change your energy, your neurotransmission, and just celebrate everything that goes well, right? Like give yourself the gift of celebrating what's going well, even the small steps, and that helps you to maintain your motivation to keep going forward to whatever your end goal is, right? And just it's a Goldilocks formula. Like we don't want to do it too much. Like we've seen, like the Wolf of Wall Street, so many dopamine hits that a person becomes driven by these addictions of the hits, and that turns into greed and lust, right? So it's the Goldilocks, not too much and not too little. So again, if you want all this typed up, just type the code word happy below and we'll get you these show notes. We'll connect with you and make sure you get them. So let's just do a quick recap before we say goodbye. We talked about what dopamine is, why it's important, what happens when we're low, the 9 ways to sort of draw more dopamine onto your receptor sites, making your brain and body happy, which means you're happier, right? It's good stuff, isn't it? So I would love to know one thing that you and I will be back next week, same time, same bat channel. And we're going to be talking next week about how mind rolls. When our nervous system is calm from pacing up, when we have good chemistry through our neurotransmitters, then it becomes easier to change our habits, right? And make some upgrades to our health. And so we need our mind on board for that. So the Peace Up class was about calming our nervous system. Dopamine is about giving our neurotransmitters some good balance. And then we're going to talk about our mind so that we can have our best chance of changing our habits for the better and reprogramming some of those old habits, old pathways that really aren't serving us anymore. And that might help us choose dopamine rich foods or move our body or drink the cup of tea or kick stress to the curb, right? Like this is what we're looking for, is just getting some traction for good choices and creating good habits. And what this does is it gives us it helps us to stop, right? So I'm here to make sure that you don't miss your heart call to come home to health. And one step at a time on this path gets you more energy, less pain, less stress, less worry, and maybe the nutritional lifestyle that you've been trying to make work. And best of all, it gets you your birthright of peace and purpose, all without spending years and too much money on therapy, supplements, or toxic chemicals. But with health, life is beautiful. And without it, it's hard and it kind of sucks, right? So, especially because it's our design to be well. So, thank you for being you, for tending to your sacred health. It matters to you, of course, but to your life and to the world. So, I'll see you next week. Be well and be sacred.